This moment, a node turns red. It happens to literally every person who has ever used this tool, me, you, probably sometime this week. And here's what most tutorials have quietly taught you about it. Nothing. They cut it out. Every workflow runs green on the first try, every demo is flawless, and so somewhere along the way you've picked up the belief that a red node means you did something wrong, that you're bad at this. That belief is the actual bug. The red node isn't evidence that you're failing, it's the tool handing you a precise note about what to fix. Nobody ever taught you to read it. So today we're doing the opposite of every tutorial. We walk straight into the errors on purpose, 3 separate times, with the 3 most common bugs in the entire tool, until reading an error message stops feeling like a small emergency and starts feeling almost boring. That's the goal by the end of the video. No new credentials today, no signups, just you, me, and one workflow, the debug gauntlet. That is deliberately, carefully broken in 3 places. Back on day 1, I introduced an idea fast, gave it in 30 seconds, and moved on because we had a workflow to finish. Today that idea is the entire video, so let's do it justice. In n8n, everything that moves between nodes is called an item, and the mental model that makes this click, permanently, is a suitcase riding down an airport conveyor belt. The item's data, its JSON, is the packing list taped to the top of that suitcase. Every field labeled in plain sight, so anyone who picks up the case knows what's inside without unzipping it and rooting around. Every node in your workflow is a baggage handler standing at one station along that belt. A handler picks up the suitcase, reads the packing list, does exactly one job, adds a tag, corrects a label, repacks the whole thing into something different, zips it back up, sends it on to the next handler down the line. Now here's the part that turns from this metaphor into a debugging superpower. And I want you to hold me to this claim for the rest of the series. Every bug you will ever hit in n8n is one of exactly 3 things going wrong with that suitcase. Either a label got changed and a downstream handler is still calling out the old name, or someone handled a handler a single loose item instead of a suitcase and the belt doesn't know what to do with it, or a label says one thing but the contents inside don't match what the label claims. 3 bugs. That's the whole list, and we're going to hit all 3 live right now. Here's the gauntlet. 1 manual trigger, run gauntlet, feeding 3 lanes, and each lane has a broken node with its fixed twin sitting right underneath it so you can compare them side by side after you read the error yourself. Lane 1. A lead comes in with a capital E field called email. The lead in cleanup node runs and very reasonably renames it to a lowercase email because that's our convention. You watched us do this exact thing on day 1. Now watch what happens one step downstream. Run it and look closely. Really look. Because this is the dangerous version of this bug. Nothing turned red, nothing crashed, it just quietly produced a lead card with a blank spot where the contact should be. Build lead card is still asking for capital E email, the old label, and that label doesn't exist on this suitcase anymore. It got relabeled 1 station back. So n8n hands nothing back, and if you're not paying attention, that broken card ships out exactly like that, silently, forever. I'd rather have 10 red nodes than 1 of these. Here's the fix, and I want you to build the habit, not just watch me do it once. Open the input panel of the node that's misbehaving and look at what fields actually exist on that suitcase right now. Not what you remember naming 3 nodes ago. There it is, lowercase email. No capital E email anywhere in sight. Fix the reference to match reality, run it again, and there's the correct info right where it belongs. 1 renamed label, 1 silent failure, and the fix was reading the input panel instead of trusting your memory. Lane 2. 3 overnight service calls come in from the overnight jobs code node. Rosa on a no-heat furnace call, Bo doing an AC tune-up, Sam coding a new install. 3 separate suitcases on the belt side by side. We want 1 summary number, total hours worked overnight. Run it, and this time n8n complains loudly, with an actual red error. Here's why. Some hours calculated the total correctly on the inside, but then returned a bare object. 1 plain value, no wrapper. And n8n's entire belt runs on 1 strict rule. Everything moving down that belt has to be an array of suitcases, even when there's only 1 suitcase in it. Hand that belt 1 loose item with no suitcase around it, and the belt refuses it at the door. The fix is almost embarrassingly small once you see it. Wrap that exact same result in square brackets with the standard JSON key around it. Same math, same number, just properly packed into a suitcase and set down on the belt, the way every other node expects to receive it. Run it, and you get a clean output. 1 suitcase correctly labeled. This is specifically a code node bug, because the code node is the one place in n8n where you personally pack the suitcase instead of a built-in node doing it for you. Forget the array wrapper, even once, and this is the exact error you'll see. Tomorrow's video lives inside this node all day, so file this one away now. Lane 3. And this is the sneakiest of the three, because it comes from somewhere you'd never think to suspect, a form. A quote for Elm Street Dental comes in at $1,500. Except, and almost nobody expects this, every form field n8n receives arrives as a string of text, even when a human typed nothing but digits. The quote amount on that packing list doesn't say the number 1500, it says the text 1500, in quotation marks, letter by letter. Run the big job if node, which checks whether the quote is over $1,000 in strict mode. Type error. And before you curse at strict mode, understand what it just did for you, because it's protecting you from a much worse bug hiding one layer down. Here's that worse bug so you know why strict mode exists at all. Text compares alphabetically, not numerically. Text 9 is bigger than text 1500, because the character 9 comes later than the character 1 when you compare letter by letter, left to right. If n8n quietly allowed that comparison, a $9 service call would outrank a $1,500 install, nothing would ever turn red, and you would never know. Strict mode slamming the brakes here with visible error is a good outcome. The red node is the tool doing you a favor. Here's the fix. Convert the text into an actual number before you compare it. Number, then field reference, right inside the expression. Or better, fix it further upstream, the moment the data enters your workflow, so every node after that point can simply trust it's a real number. Run it, and you get the correct result. Big job confirmed, no error. Text that looks like a number is not a number, and this exact trap sits inside basically every form field you will receive for the rest of this series. 3 bugs. A label that changed while a downstream node kept asking for the old one, a single suitcase handed over instead of a properly packed belt, a label claiming one thing while the contents say another. That's the whole list. Nearly every broken n8n workflow you'll ever encounter traces back to one of these 3. And the fix every single time is the same one habit. Open the input panel of whatever node went red and read the packing list actually in front of you. Not what you remember naming something 4 nodes back. Not what you assume the data should look like. What it says right there in that moment. Zoom out with me for a second, because this is bigger than n8n. What you just learned is the difference between people who debug and people who guess. Every platform you'll ever automate on, every API, every database, every AI model we start writing in 2 days from now, moves labeled data between steps, and misreading the label is always the #1 failure. Today's red nodes were the cheapest possible place to learn that. Now it's your turn. The full debug gauntlet, all 3 broken and fixed pairs side by side on one canvas, is free in the description, no email wall. Import it, hit run gauntlet, break something on purpose, then fix it yourself without watching me do it first. What I want you to do is take any workflow you've built so far this series, deliberately break one thing in it, rename a field somewhere down upstream, and don't fix the reference. That's the easiest one to plant, and post a screenshot of the error in the comments before you fix it. I want to see you read one of these instead of panic closing the tab. Stay tuned for tomorrow, where the code node gets its own full episode. The only JavaScript you actually need, boiled down to 5 patterns you'll reuse in every build for the rest of this series. Subscribe if this helped, and I'll see you tomorrow.